What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, and you're listening to Mike on the Mic, everything sports related podcast. Today is MLB trade deadline day. We have less than just a few more hours to go, honestly, until the trade deadline is over. And the biggest trade of this offseason so far, or of this trade deadline so far, not this offseason, is Juan Soto. Juan Soto and Josh Bell are both going to the San Diego Padres. Josh Hader is on the way as well from the Milwaukee Brewers trade the other night. So we're going to get into it. I mean, right now, Washington receives probably one of the craziest packages that we've ever seen. I mean, you're looking at C.J. Abrams. He's an amazing shortstop throughout their organization. Robert Hassell, who is the Padres' #1 prospect and number 21 overall per MLB Pipeline. James Woods, who's their number 3 prospect, number 88 overall. And a couple other great pieces. I mean, you're looking at Jarlin Susana, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He's the Padres' number 14th overall, in return for Josh Bell and Juan Soto. I think that is insane to me to think that they got, if we're being completely real, it's a conversation to where we don't know what Washington's going to look like in a couple years from now, because they're also getting Eric Hosmer. If Eric actually approves the trade, that's one of the biggest things right now. Is Eric Hosmer going to approve the trade? If he doesn't, I don't think it matters, because they're also getting MacKenzie Gore, who's a standout lefty, an amazing prospect. Even though he had that elbow inflammation, he's one of the best in the game. So for you to be getting a #1 prospect who's 21 overall in the top 100, a #3 prospect who's 88 overall, a number 14, MacKenzie Gore, who's already league ready, but was a top 10 prospect in the MLB pipeline until he came up into the league. That's huge. I mean, that's huge for Washington, and they got honestly probably the best package they would have gotten. I don't think anybody else is going to be able to match that. I don't think anybody else is going to be able to have that conversation to where you're looking at them and you're trying to figure out, what are we going to get for Bell individually, and what are we going to be getting for Juan Soto individually. So they packaged the two together, and they got probably the best deal that they could have gotten. I don't think the Dodgers would have been able to match that. I don't think the New York Yankees would have been able to match that. I think truly that thought, in the reality, in the grand scheme of things, that he was going to end up a Dodger. I just don't think it was realistic, because you understand that that's most likely going to be a rental for the next couple of years. But that is insane to me to think right now. Juan Soto and Josh Bell, on top of Josh Hader, are going to the San Diego Padres, with Fernando Tatis Jr. coming back probably within the next month or so, I would imagine, with that wrist injury, which he's been out the entire season. But I mean, when you have Juan Soto and Josh Hader and company backing you up, and I feel like people sleep on Josh Bell. If you don't know Josh Bell, me as a Cubs fan personally, I watched a lot of his game. I think it's one of those conversations to where this kid, if he could tap into his potential, he could be a top 10 first baseman. I truly do believe that from an offensive standpoint. Comment right here, has Hosmer agreed to the trade? I don't believe I haven't heard anything yet that he's agreed to it. But I did kind of say in the beginning that I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think it's going to matter, because at the end of the day, that was more just kind of like a salary dump. I feel like that was more for San Diego, kind of like, well, can you at least take this contract off our hands kind of deal. I feel like they're either going to cut ties or waive him, or, designate him for assignment at the end of this season if he doesn't get moved, if he doesn't approve this trade. But I mean, at this point, if I'm Eric, I do, because I'm not going to play it all with Juan Soto and company coming. And especially with Josh Bell coming as well, that kind of just changes everything for Eric, because he does play a little bit of first base. Bell's a beast, 100%. Bell is one of the best first basemen when it comes to overall power. I mean, this kid, outside of, like, let's say Vladdy and Riz and Goldschmidt, this kid has insane amounts of power. Like, this kid can rake. And now that he's going to be surrounded around individuals who can do the same. You have Fernando Tatis Jr., Juan Soto and company, and you have a bunch of other guys throughout that Padres lineup that can really just get it done and be effective at the plate. He can just play his game instead of having to hit for average, instead of having to play gold glove defense, which he doesn't. But it's that conversation of knowing you have good guys on this infield now. You have Fernando Tatis Jr., who's going to not only be able to make a play, but do it in probably the swaggiest way you've ever seen. So that's super exciting. And I think right now there's no excuses. I think it's so crazy. We're talking about Frankie Montas as well last night. I think that, the Yankees and the San Diego Padres are both in a position right now to where it's like there are zero excuses to why you can't win the World Series. Zero excuses to why you can't win the World Series. And I think that's something right now that nobody looks at, nobody talks about is, the Dodgers. Oh, well, the Dodgers need to do it too because Mookie Betts and Clayton Kershaw and all these other expensive deals they have. And I understand that, and I understand where everybody's coming from. But the way that the San Diego Padres have moved in the last 2 years, I mean, they are becoming a juggernaut of just making moves. They have been outstanding. And honestly, they've drafted very well too at that. All these guys, MacKenzie Gore, Abrams, and the other individuals that were traded were top tier prospects. Like, these weren't just guys that, maybe they'll pan out, maybe they won't. Maybe out of the five, two of them will pan out. I'm pretty positive that four of those five will pan out, and the one that won't is probably Hosmer, and he's not a prospect. So I truly do think that it's going to be dope. I think it's going to be a great experience. You look at what they've done with Yu Darvish. You look at what they've done with Blake Snell. You look at what they've done all around the board, just bringing in talent. Now Juan Soto and Josh Bell and Josh Hader, like, they are making moves, and as you should. I feel like it's so easy to make a farm system and keep the pipeline going. And you've seen that throughout so many organizations' history, whether that be the Dodgers or the Yankees or whatever it may be. You see it through there, and you see it that way simply based off of the fact that, at one point, let's say we draft this kid and he's a top number one overall prospect. Who's to say next year we don't draft the same kid? It's all, how much do you trust your scouting department? And to me, the Padres could do it again. If they've done it once, they could do it again. It's not like they were the worst team in the league when these guys were getting drafted. They drafted accordingly, and they drafted the right way. And I feel like right now, when you're really looking at them from that perspective, it's definitely that conversation of these guys can do whatever they want to do, and these guys can run up the board. I'm super excited about it. And like, what this means for the league this year, I mean, I think this could be one of the best World Series matchups we've seen in quite some time, no matter who is there. I think it's going to be one of the greatest postseasons that we've had in quite some time. I'm super excited just for October baseball. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. You're looking at the Dodgers, you're looking at all these other teams. I think it's going to be one of the best times that we've had in quite some time. And I think that's something right now that no one really talks about and no one really wants to have a conversation about, is like the West Coast just completely taking over. So I think there's a lot that goes into it. And there's a lot of people right now that I think, obviously you still have to look at certain teams. You still have to understand the Padres are legit. The Dodgers are legit. Obviously Atlanta's legit. But at the end of the day, you're looking at the NL Central, and you're looking at what's going on right now with the St. Louis Cardinals. They just folded because they didn't get Juan Soto. Josh Hader's gone from Milwaukee. There's a lot of teams right now where you look at the Padres and the Dodgers and let's say Atlanta, that's pretty much the top three race. I mean, I wouldn't expect anybody else to really make it. And on the AL side of things, you're looking at the Yankees and what they bring to the table. The Toronto Blue Jays, to me, should have been in on Juan Soto. They should have been in on Frankie Montas. They should have been in on all those guys to really make a move and really run up the board. But I mean, that's crazy to me. That is crazy to me. And we're still waiting for Wilson Contreras. So if you're still waiting on that, best believe I'll be here for it the second it happens. But if it is to happen and it is to go down within probably the next couple hours, I don't know where he's going to go now. We were rumored about Wilson potentially going to the Padres, and I feel like that was plan B if Juan Soto and Josh Bell didn't pan out. But when you really look at it right now, I'm hearing rumors that Wilson might go to Tampa. I'm hearing that, that's definitely a possibility. That was a conversation last year, is they wanted Wilson in Tampa, and we were unwilling to trade him last year. Tyler Glasnow is one of the guys that I feel like should still be in that conversation. He's recovering from Tommy John right now, only 28 years old. He would be insane for this starting rotation if we can get Tyler. And that's something I would want in a return. I'm not really too in on the whole prospect aspect from this very point. I do think at the end of the day, though, this is going to be huge for the Padres. This is going to be huge for the league. And Fernando Tatis Jr. and Juan Soto being in the same lineup, this is going to be one of the greatest duos in baseball from just an overall standpoint. I mean, I'm really upset. Don't get it twisted. Like, I'm pissed that I have to, watch these guys play in these gold and brown uniforms. They're so fucking ugly, but they are going to be playing very good baseball. Whether you're a Padres fan or not, I think we can all agree those uniforms are horrendous. And their city connects were even worse. But I think it's insane to me to think that that's even happening right now. So it's a lot of fun. That's all I got for you guys right now. We're about to go make a bunch of new articles and a bunch of stuff going on. Wanted to report that, but we're going to come back tonight. We're going to come back later on today if Wilson Contreras and company are moved. So I want to appreciate you guys for being here. We're going to get out of here real quick. I have a couple articles to write for the network. And